My grandpa was a pastor. I don't know how many of you know that. And just to be really clear, he had absolutely nothing to do with me doing what I do now, okay? I mean, he was a very serious person. And religion, boy, that was a very serious matter. For him, there was a correct worship style and a correct belief system, and everything else was just nonsense. He was a pastor from his generation. But if I'm being honest, it was hard for me to be around that. Ironically, what got me started on this path had nothing to do with him. It actually started in college. I had to take a humanities class because I went to a liberal arts school, so I had to take a class outside my major. And I thought, hey, I'll take a religion class, specifically New Testament, because I grew up in the church. And I assumed the answer to every test question would be Jesus? Because isn't that how it is here? Like that's what it's all about, right? Turns out, it's not how it works. That class was not easy. It wasn't. In fact, a lot of what I thought I knew, the things I'd picked up in church growing up, started to get challenged, expanded, complicated. And honestly, I loved it. It felt like someone opened a window and let fresh air into the room. But not everyone felt that way. Some of the people in that class reminded me, honestly, of my grandpa. Very serious about religion, very certain. They knew with absolute clarity that what they had been taught as teenagers was the only way. It was the right way, the theologically pure way of being Christian. And they didn't do very well in that class. Here's what surprised me. When I got to know them, I actually liked them. Well, some of them, not everybody. For the most part, they were good people, smart people, open to a lot of things, except anything that challenged their religious beliefs. Because there was too much at stake. Their salvation hung in the balance, and there was fear in seeing something more. And honestly, at first, I found that to be strange, because who doesn't expect to grow? Is it healthy or even possible to have the exact same view of yourself and the world at 50 as you did at 16? I don't think you can do that. Or if you do, I don't think you should do that. Is there any area of your life where you'd say, nah, I'm good. No more growth is needed here. It's fine. I don't know. Eventually, though, I started to understand something. No one abandons their ideas easily. No one. Confirmation bias is very real. We don't just believe things because they're true. We believe things because they're familiar. You know, give you an example. So I've used some very questionable sources to justify my Diet Mountain Dew addiction. Oh, no, it's not that bad for you. I read something online. The rats only died because they had like 30 times the amount of that chemical in Diet Mountain Dew, so it's okay, right? You can find anything you want on the internet if you are motivated enough. And then social media, it's taken this to a whole new level, because now there's an algorithm that is really, really, really good at feeding you exactly what you already agree with. It's an echo chamber, and we can live in that pretty comfortably. We don't even have to defend our beliefs anymore. We just have to scroll. So it's at this point that I feel that I need to give you a warning. Because when something is dangerous, when something threatens the way you think about things or the way that you live, we should probably say that out loud, right? So here it is, here's the warning. If you value your current set of beliefs, and if you are highly motivated to keep your practices, routines, and assumptions exactly as they are, the Easter story is incredibly dangerous. Fair warning. If we forget something, I think it's this. Easter comes right after Jesus' execution. And in first century Roman-occupied Jerusalem, you don't crucify someone for sharing nice little moral teachings. You execute people who threaten power, people who challenge systems, people who disrupt the story that keeps everything running, systems that scapegoat, that keep people afraid, that keep people divided, that keep people from seeing the humanity in each other. So when we say Easter and resurrection, that is not just a miracle. This is God's response. It's God saying, the world that killed Jesus is not the final version of the world. And this is where Isaiah comes in. For I am about to create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. For I am about to create Jerusalem as a joy and its people as a delight. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and delight in my people. No more shall the sound of weeping be heard in it, or the cry of distress. No more shall there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old person who does not live out a lifetime. For one who dies at 100 years will be considered a youth, and one who falls short of 100 will be considered accursed. They shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For like the days of the tree shall the days of my people be, and my chosen shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain or bear children for calamity, for they shall be offspring blessed by the Lord, and their descendants as well. Before they call, I will answer. While they are speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like the ox, but the serpent, its food, shall be dust. They shall not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, says the Lord. Isaiah 65, when paired with this Easter reading, it gives us language. It gives us a framework for why Easter story is so disruptive. Because in Isaiah, God doesn't say, hang in there, someday you'll escape this place. God says, I'm about to create a new heaven, a new earth. Not a new location, a new reality. A world where children live full lives, where weeping is no longer the defining sound of a community. And then it gets even more unsettling. Wolves and lambs together, predators and prey at peace, which sounds nice until you realize what that actually means. It means the way we've accepted the world to work is not the way God intends it to be, because we have learned to live with a world where some people thrive and others get consumed. We've accepted systems where some voices matter more than others. We've gotten used to a version of reality where survival often comes at someone else's expense. And Isaiah says, not anymore. That's the danger. Because if God is creating a world where life is shared, where dignity is restored, where enemies don't stay enemies, then all the categories we rely on of who's in and who's out, who deserves and who doesn't, who belongs and who doesn't, they don't hold anymore. I mean, they can't. And that is exactly what we see in Easter. Because resurrection doesn't just say Jesus lives, it says you don't understand the world as well as you think you do. The lines you've drawn about who's right and who belongs, who matters, what kind of life wins, they're not as solid as you think. The lines we draw, the people we avoid, the assumptions we carry, they don't survive resurrection. They get exposed. They get undone. And in their place, what is there left? Love. Love not as a feeling, not something soft or sentimental, but a way of living where no one is outside of God's concern. This is the agape kind of love that we've been focusing on all year here at Bethlehem, which means to love is to listen to your neighbor who is not like you. To love is to take seriously the humanity of someone you don't understand. To love is to open yourself to new people and new ideas and new ways of seeing the world and yourself. And if you do that, if you seriously do that, you can't stay the same. You can't expect others to stay the same. You can't expect the world to stay the same. So yeah, the people who are very comfortable in their echo chambers, for people who rely on confirmation bias, for people who prefer clear lines and closed circles, yeah, Easter is dangerous because it moves us out from ourselves. It pushes us towards a world where the people we once kept at a distance are now seen as people God has already called worthy of love. And maybe that's what I was experiencing in college, and why I found it so life-giving hearing that almost for the first time in that classroom. Not just new information, but a glimpse of a bigger world. A world where faith wasn't about protecting what I already believed, but about being open to what God was still creating. And maybe that is what made it so hard for others as well. Because if Easter is true, then even our most certain, most familiar, most comfortable ways of understanding God are not the final word. But love is. And that is both challenging and the good news that we hear on this Easter celebration. Thanks be to God for that. Amen. As a way of going deeper into the story today and applying it more directly to your life, a couple of reflection questions for you. And you can either pause the video at this point or come back to this and use this for a reflection, for journaling opportunities, or just include as part of your prayer life. But here's the question number one. How do you understand the Easter story? Do you see it as part of God's ongoing desire to restore our world now? Does that challenge then how you see yourself, others, and the world? And here's question number two. Where in your life are you most certain you are right? And what would it mean to hold that belief with just a little more openness? And then, because our faith is not just a matter of the head, but it's also a matter of practice, it's a matter of living, here is your challenge question for this Easter, should you choose to accept it. So pay attention to one moment this week where you feel resistance toward a person or perspective. Instead of shutting it down or dismissing it, pause, listen longer than you normally would, stay curious instead of certain. Not to agree, not to change your mind immediately, but simply to make room. Because resurrection doesn't just change what we believe, it changes how we see people. That is the challenge this week.